Hey, Hilltop family. It's Pastor Matt here. I'm actually in my daughter's room right now, if you couldn't tell. It's the quietest area in the house. But we actually went live on our Instagram just this week and on Wednesday night, actually at 7 p.m., and it was a great time. We had some fun. We were able to connect with some students, some leaders, and we were also able to dive into God's Word. But we also recognize that not everyone has Instagram. And so we just wanted to make sure that we were able to provide that devotional to our students throughout this time. Again, it's so important for us during a time of uncertainty like this to remain connected. You know, the blessing about this is that church is not a place, it's a people. Well, throughout this time, we are still the church. And that means that we want to do everything we can to stay connected, to continue to grow, to continue to be bright light and strong salt to our loved ones, our family, our community in any way possible. So if you guys are interested, if you guys are parents, please know this. We're going to be doing Zoom calls on Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. We'll be putting that information on our website, on our Facebook, on our Instagram, also through emails. But please stay tuned to those things so that you guys can find the link for that, because we want to make sure that we stay connected, especially in such a time as this. But again, like I said, none of one has Instagram Live, so I wanted to provide the devotional material that we went over on Wednesday for everyone. So again, if you have a teenager, pass this along to them. You know, it's one of these times where there's a lot of uncertainty, and schools are closed right now. The church, we can't meet in person. Movie theaters and restaurants, and you know, everything's kind of evolving, and it's just pretty fluid. And things just keep changing and changing. So there's definitely some uncertainty there. I mean, what do students who are in their senior years do? I know there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of anxiety and even some fear in regard to that. So I wanted to go back and take a look at what we were doing before our last series, which was our Life Hack series. Before our Life Hack series, we took a look at King Josiah in 2 Chronicles. And King Josiah was, he actually decided to run right versus his predecessors kind of ran wild. And so I was able to go back to 2 Chronicles, and we were taking a look, or I was taking a look, and there's a definite time of uncertainty around a king named King Hezekiah. In 2 Chronicles, you'll see actually this time of uncertainty happens to all the people, the northern and the southern kingdom of Israel and Judah. You'll see in 722, Assyria actually wipes out the northern kingdom of Israel. And then in 715 BC, Hezekiah becomes kingdom of Judah, the southern kingdom. And King Hezekiah wasn't born into a God-honoring family. In fact, it was actually pretty much the opposite of that. And as he became king, the country was really doing everything opposite of God. I mean, it was hardly any acknowledgement, if at all. Definitely not any obeying. But King Hezekiah took reign, and what wound up happening as he became king of Judah, he began seeing everything that was going on, and he actually wound up turning back to God. It says in the Bible that there was a major shift that happened in the kingdom of Judah. And what he did is he actually cleaned house. He took all the false gods, the altars and all those things, and he destroyed them. And he turned everyone back to God, totally transforming this kingdom, this nation in that way. But here's where the uncertainty comes in. About 11 years after this, 11 years into King Hezekiah doing all of these incredible things and turning the nation back to God, you'll see this in 2 Chronicles 29 through 31, all the things that he did to bring God back to the center of life for the Jews, and this transformation that happens. But then you get to chapter 32, verse 1, and this is what it says. I want to read it to you real quick. It says, after all that Hezekiah had done, Sennacherib, king of Assyria, invaded Judah. He laid siege to the fortified cities, thinking to conquer them for himself. Now listen, this is an incredibly difficult thing for me, because I think back and I think what King Hezekiah did for the kingdom of Judah and really turning them back to God. And then 11 years into this, seemingly doing everything right and really working to transform the culture of the kingdom and obeying God to his best abilities. 11 years in, now he's left with the king of Assyria at his front door. And the king of Assyria wants to take down Judah. Now you can think, well, for myself, I think, man, I did everything possible, and here calamity comes at my door. What a time of uncertainty when the enemy is right at your front door. Here's something that I want to give you guys real quick. I always try and do this in our Wednesday night meetings. I always try and give what I call a sermon in a sentence. That means for some of the junior hires who can't quite keep their attention span, hear this. If you don't hear anything else, I want you guys to hear this. Life is uncertain, but God is not. Life is uncertain, but God is not. Here's the biggest part that I want you guys to know, especially during uncertain times, is that though we might not know what tomorrow holds, we know who holds tomorrow. And that's such an incredible aspect to us as Christians. It's so incredibly important that we understand that we don't know what tomorrow holds, but we do know who holds tomorrow. And that's what King Hezekiah, he really knew. He knew that going into this. This is what happens with King Sennacherib right at the door. It says this in 2 Chronicles chapter 32, verses 2 through 7. It says, when Hezekiah saw that Sennacherib had come and that he intended to wage war against Jerusalem, he consulted with his officials and military staff about blocking off the water from the springs outside the city, and they helped him. They gathered a large group of people who blocked all the springs and the stream that flowed through the land. Why should the kings of Assyria come and find plenty of water, they said. Then he worked hard repairing all the broken sections of the wall and building towers on it. He built another wall outside that one and reinforced the terraces of the city of David. He also made large numbers of weapons and shields. He appointed military officers over the people and assembled them before him in the square at the city gate and encouraged them with these words, saying, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged because of the king of Assyria and the vast army with him, for there is a greater power with us than with him. King Hezekiah really did three things during this uncertain time. He blocked out the bad, he repaired the broken, and he fortified the strong. I want to dive into that really, really briefly with you guys real quick. The first thing he did is he blocked out the bad. He saw the springs, he saw the water that was going to be available to the enemy right outside of his gate, right outside, readily available for his enemy to take part in. So the first thing he did is he blocked it off. And what does that mean for us in times of uncertainty? Sometimes we allow certain things in that shouldn't be there. And I think the lesson here from King Hezekiah could be we need to block out those things that can be harmful. What a powerful thing that King Hezekiah, he didn't want to give a stronghold. He didn't want to give a foothold to the enemy in any way, shape, or form. He didn't want the enemy to be there any longer than they needed to be, any longer than they could be, anything of the sort. He didn't want something to allow the enemy a foothold in his kingdom. So what did he do? He blocked it off. For us, what are some of the things that you need to block out during this time of uncertainty? Things that might bring fear or anxiety or even depression, things like that. What are some things that you can truthfully block out so that you don't allow the enemy to have a foothold during this time of uncertainty? The second thing that he did, which is so important, is that he repaired the broken. It says in verse 5, then he worked hard repairing all the broken sections of the wall and building towers on it. I love this because he didn't just try to make sure the enemy didn't get comfortable at his front door. He made sure the enemy couldn't take advantage of any weakness. It's so important for us during this time that we identify areas of weakness for us. I know especially for teenagers, social media can be a challenging thing to navigate. So can the internet and things like that. It can also be an amazing tool. But there's some things that we need to learn. If there's a weakness in our life, we need to repair that right away. Sometimes that can actually be something as simple as social media, or as difficult as a friend who can be a harmful influence to our life. How do we repair those things in our life to make sure that we don't allow this time of uncertainty to overcome us? Well, I think it's really important that we identify those weaknesses first and that we go before the Lord and we say, God, I want to fix this. I don't want to be weak in this area. I don't want to allow the enemy to have a stronghold or an area of entrance into my life, into my heart. I don't want my faith to be disturbed. I don't want to live in fear. So I want to repair those areas. I want to make sure that those areas are built up. And how do we do this? Man, we go before the Lord and we build up. We repair those broken areas in our life. If there's an area where we're not as disciplined in, man, it's time to repair that and get disciplined in those areas. The third thing that he did is he fortified the strong. And I love this. It says again in verse 5, he built another wall outside that one and reinforced the terraces of the city of David. He also made large numbers of weapons and shields. And I love this because after blocking out the bad, after repairing the broken, he fortified the strong. He put safeguards in place. He made sure to reinforce, to protect, and stabilize the good, which were his defenses. How can we apply this, especially in times of uncertainty? Man, we got to be in God's word. The church, again, it's not a place, it's a people. It's staying connected during this time, not with the wrong things, but with the right things, the things that will benefit us, the things that will help us, the things that will hold us up. It's diving in and knowing God's word. It's no surprise that Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 is one of the most popular verses because it's a promise. It says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him and he will make your path straight. Listen, there's so much in God's word that will help us in times of uncertainty, but you have to dive into it. Again, I love you guys so much. Pastor Matt here. We're doing everything we can. Please stay tuned. We'll be doing some Zoom calls on Wednesday at 7 p.m. There'll be more information on our website. You guys have our cell phone number. If you guys don't, make sure that you guys get it. We love you guys. Follow us on Instagram, on Facebook, all of our avenues of media so that you guys can stay connected in this time. Be blessed. I love you guys so much.